Daf Mem Gimel. Today we're learning page 43 of Torah, and we're going to start actually with the beginning of the Biur, which is on Daf Mem base, the last column. This is an explanation on the previous Maamer, which discussed why the Chanukah Maamer is lit on the left, not on the right. Most mitzvahs are on the right, and mezuzah is put on the right. The basic explanation is that most mitzvahs are about elevating up towards Hashem, and therefore that involves love and yearning and positive emotions, whereas Chanukah Maamer is about bringing light even into the place of darkness, and that involves gevura, concealment, struggle, and therefore it's on the left. So now this moment begins with, again, noting that mitzvahs are about elevating up, whereas Torah is about descending down. And how do we bring them together? So imagine if you have someone standing at the top of the stairs and someone else standing at the bottom. So they come together through the one at the top walking down, the one at the bottom walking up. So the explanation is, we'll understand through first describing the impetus for creation in different ways. So Hashem created the world, but where does that come from? In other words, is that something from a deep set desire within, or something more external? So in one pasuk it says whatever Hashem wanted he did, which implies it's a deep set desire, and creation comes straight out of that desire. Whereas in another pasuk it says bidvar Hashem shamim na'sу, with the word of Hashem heaven was created, which implies it's just a word. He says it, and like we have the asar mamaris, the 10 utterances. Hashem said, let there be light, it was light. Let there be the sky, and there was the sky, etc. So it's just something he said, but something more external. So now when we talk about the creation of the actual items, the chomer, their material, their being, so that comes from diבור, because gashmis is physicality. It's very sort of coarse in the scheme of worlds, which are mostly spiritual and totally beyond, much more in sync with godliness. And so the material, the chomer of creation, that comes from diבור, from Hashem's speech, whereas the tzura, the form, that comes from Hashem's desire. So now the pasuk says, Hashem, how many are your works, Hashem? So they were all made with wisdom. Now, so that implies that chachma is wisdom is what creates the world. The chachma is the highest of the 10 spheres. Now, chachma relates to gevura, to discipline and limitation, and that's because chachma is the beginning of division. And when you think and understand, you differentiate between different things, and divide each form and each picture into its details. Now, the source of chachma itself is from beyond chachma. The source of chachma is from what's called beitzina de kardanissa, the dark light, which introduces the concept of measure and limitation to Hashem's light. And in chachma, so although its source is from what is called this dark light, so in other words, a place of concealment, but chachma itself is a revelation of Hashem, and therefore, though it has many details, which details come from gevura, but still all the details are united, are at one. And this is like when you have an idea. You can think about it in 1 second, and the idea can include many different parts and many different concepts and items that you sort of see it all in your mind at once, the whole idea at once. But then when you want to explain it in words, it might take you a long time to explain what you saw in a second, or what you thought, the idea that came to you like that in a flash. So similarly with chachma, that it has a lot of details, but they're still united. But once it comes into speech, then each one becomes a separate point. And that's actually what happens in the 10 Maameros, that it divides creation into these different parts. And the number of Maameros of utterances to do with creation is 10. Because it doesn't specify into every little detail, it just gives 10. Just Hashem only mentions specifically in the 10 Maameros 10 general creations. Next paragraph. The reason is that with speech, when you divide, when you mention details in speech, that makes it each detail into a yesh, into an existence for itself. Because with Chachma, Chachma is one with Hashem's unlimited light, and therefore that wouldn't allow the idea of a yesh, of something independent, only when as the light evolves down towards Malchus, which is speech. That's when the creations become independent, because Malchus is the end of Atzilus. Atzilus is the world where everything is at one with Hashem, and Malchus is what creates. It's the source of the lower worlds of Bria, etc. But even though now they exist as independent creations, but still Hashem is still involved and directing all of them, and that's also the concept of Malchus, kingship, that the king is in charge and instructs the subjects, and therefore this is now the level of Bitul Hayesh. Atzilus is Bitul B'Metzius, that their whole existence is totally not nullified. There is only Hashem. Whereas Bitul Hayesh means they exist, but they serve Hashem and they submit to Hashem. So they are an independent existence that then submits back to Hashem. And that's what Malchus can achieve within the worlds of Biur. And that's what we mean. We say, so we say this in Dovid. This pasuk is quoted that the hosts of heaven bow to Hashem, meaning that although they're in Biur, but they bow to Hashem. And we see this with the sun and the moon and the constellations, that they're all going towards the west, which is the idea of bowing to Hashem, bowing to the Shekhinah in the west. And this bittul is introduced to them through the higher energy within creation, which is from chayfetz, from Hashem's desire. That is enclosed. That idea of chayfetz, that Hashem desires the world. That represents a light from beyond, a light of Keser, a light of Ein Sof, but it encloses itself in Chachma, and then Chachma introduces this bittul, this nullification to creation, even as it comes from Malchus. And whatever is below receives from what is higher. So Malchus receives this bittul from Chachma. Now while the Gentiles say that they relate to Hashem as Elokim, as the God within nature. And therefore, since now and the God within limitation, symptom that only gives the world the energy and only relate Hashem only relating to the world according to what they can take. So from that level, Elokim, then that's the way it is, that there can't be more light of Hashem, more godly energy introduced into the world beyond what the original light that was given with creation, because it would be too much for the created beings. But that the Yidden relate to Shem Havaya, the God, the name of Hashem beyond nature, and that's what the pasuk means. Ki ani yadaiti, I know, ki gadol havaya, that Hashem is great. What does this pasuk mean? That ani, I, is Malchus, the which is the source of the souls of the Jewish people, Knesset Yisrael, and Knesset Yisrael knows, the Jewish collective knows about Havaya's greatness, and Havaya's Hashem as he is beyond nature, and over to the top of Mem Gimel, and that godliness beyond nature dominates over Elokim. Whereas Pari says, Lo yadati es Havaya, I don't know about Havaya, I don't know about Hashem beyond nature. All I can relate to, Pari is saying, is Shem Elokim, Hashem within nature. And therefore, Hashem now left the earth. In other words, he can't get any more involved than the rules of nature. But this is, of course, not true, because nature itself is unnatural. In other words, like it says in Shayich V'Emunah, that the natural state of being is that there should be only Hashem. The fact that at every moment the world exists as a separate entity is because of constant creation. Hashem has to prop it up again and again every moment. And therefore it's more unnatural than water going up instead of down, like what happened with Kriyas Yamsuf, with the splitting of the sea, that there had to be a wind constantly blowing it and keeping the water up as walls to let the Bnei Yisrael, the Israelites, cross. And the same thing with the world, that it needs to be constantly recreated. And so although the Goyim say they only relate to Elikim, but the truth is that that whatever Hashem desired, and he used the name Havaya, he made, that this is a unification of Havaya together with Elikim, or in other terms, like we say in L'Shem Yichud before Baruch Shamar, it's a unification of Kudsha Brichu, the Holy One, blessed be He, which is Shem Havaya, the God's light beyond nature, with Shechina, which is Hashem as He is manifest within nature and within wills. And this unification happens through Shem Havaya being drawn down into Shem Elokim. And that nullifies the yesh, the independent existence, and then makes it obviously one with Hashem. Now, there are two ways that Havaya and Elikim can unite. Either Havaya going down to Elikim, and this is called Shiluv Havaya Elikim, Havaya fitting into Elikim, and then, like you see in some Siddurim, they have a more Kabbalistic bent, that when it says Hashem's name, it mixes the Adonai and Havaya, or Elikim and Havaya. So here we have Elikim first, and then Havaya, then Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Aleph, then Yud, then Lamed of Elikim, and then the Hey, etc. So there we have Elikim first. Or the other system is, well, Elikim goes up to Hashem, and then the main place is Hashem. In other words, the name Hashem's energy beyond nature. Then that is first. Then you'll first have the Yud of Havaya, then the Aleph of Elikim, then back to the Hey of Havaya, then the Lamed of Elikim, because then the primary identity is Shem Havaya. Now, the advantage. There's an advantage of when Elikim goes up to Havaya, because if when Havaya comes down to Elikim, so then it's going into the realm of Tzimtzum, where there's a contraction and concealment. But when Shem Elikim goes up, rises beyond to Shem Havaya, so then it's going into a place of unlimitedness. And therefore, that is the greater way. In this context, halal, elevating up, it brings to a greater light of Hashem, then hamshacha, then Hashem's unlimited light coming down. Now, like we've explained on previous days, previous stuff in the Maamer where this is based on as well, that ner mitzvah Torah, so the mitzvah is halal, is going up to Hashem, taking a physical item and bringing it up to Hashem, revealing the holiness. Whereas Torah is dictating how the world should be according to Hashem's plan. In other words, bringing Hashem's light down into the world. So we can understand this through understanding the concept of letters. letters are a strange thing, because on one hand, we use letters to convey an idea. But on the other hand, they just come out of us naturally. We don't, when we play music, you have to plan where you want to, which notes you're trying to make, and therefore whatever instrument it is, whether it's a violin or a piano, whatever it is, you have to touch in the right places, or blow, holding the right places in order to produce that sound. But with letters, we don't have to do that. Whatever we want to say, automatically our mouth moves to that in that shape to produce that letter. And that's because letters, the idea of the letter is seichel, but in other words, the ideas that you want to convey through this combination of letters and words. But the concept of making a sound automatically, that comes from beyond beyond one's regular 10 spheres, because it's sort of, it just happens. It's this sort of power from beyond that we can't describe, and we don't know how it works. So now within letters, there's letters of our thought and letters of our speech, because even when we think, there's letters there as well. And the letters of thought relate to the sphere of bina, which understanding, which is development of an idea. Whereas the letters of speech relate to malchus, which malchus is about giving over to other, allowing for the idea of an other. Now, speech above is more internal than speech below in the physical world, and therefore the speech above is like our thought. And so therefore, when the malachim speak, that's like us thinking. And then you have, at even higher levels, you have even higher speech and higher thoughts. Now the source of the revelation of letters and words is in chachma. Like Onkelos translates the pasuk Vahi Adam, when the person became alive, Adam was created. Onkelos translates it. Nefesh Chaya is a spirit which can talk, a soul which can talk. So that comes from and Chaya, the level of the neshama. Chaya relates to chachma, because we had nefesh is related to malchus, ruach is related to midas, neshama related to bina, chaya related to chachma, and then yechida is beyond, is the Ein Sof. But although this is where letters come from, that's not the original source. The original source, the hidden source, is beyond, is keser, and that's the idea that we just put our mouth automatically into the place we want, whereas the content of our words, that comes from chachma. And chachma is really where the subconscious is revealed. So therefore, within spheres, the one closest to chachma is the one closest to keser is chachma. The one closest to the beyond is chachma, because like we've explained on previous days and dafim, that chachma is when you just let your subconscious talk. You have a memory, you have an idea. So a dream. So these things come from within without you actively processing, and therefore they're the truest to keser. And therefore the main source of the letters is from beyond seichel, beyond intellect. But then they come into intellect in order to think, because in order to convey an idea, you need words, even in your mind, even when you think, not only when you speak, you need words, and we think in whatever language we normally think in or speak in. But the letters are not only intellect, because because like we said before, but that they've got a higher source, but also because you can convey the same idea with different words, and different people will each convey the same idea in their own style. And like we see, even within commentaries on Gemara, that Tosfos and the Ran might say the same thing, but each will say it in their own words based on their inner style. And an example of this, that in other words, this idea that you could have something which involves the mind, but that's not all it is. It has a part, but it's not the essence. So in Hasidus, it talks about the idea of having a child, of bearing a child. So how the zera comes from the mind and then goes down until the person fathers a child. So in order to do this, the boy has to mature and have this ability. And besides that, there's also other external influences, like, for example, what he eats that has an impact, and other things. But still, although what he eats can have an impact, but the food doesn't have this power of procreation. The power of procreation is from within and starts from the mind then goes down. So the same thing with letters, that they really are beyond intellect, but intellect helps them. It helps foster them, like this food, which helps foster, being healthy, etc. And eating, and certain foods in particular cause more zera. And but they're not the actual thing. Comes from not from the food, but from the from within the person. So the same thing with the letters, that they're beyond seichel, they're beyond intellect, although the intellect has a part in them. And this explains the cryptic statement. It's the Gemara says that Matat ties crowns. He creates crowns for Hashem from the tefillas, from the prayers of the Jewish people. So what's it saying here? It's saying that when the letters of prayer go up to Hashem, so they're carried up by malachim, by the angels. This matat is one of the angels, one of the important angels. And you have different angels that are in charge of receiving prayers in different chambers. And then it says that the malach kisses the words of the prayer. And the concept of kissing is when the air from within the body, from within the mouth, coming out into what is kissing. So similarly, the malach adds spirit, adds its air to the prayers of the Jewish people, and this lifts the prayers from human speech into angelic speech, which, like we said before, that the speech, dibur in higher worlds, is like our machshava, our thought, and then the tefillah continues to elevate from world to world. And this is the idea of making crowns, meaning that lifting up our prayers until the source in Keser, in the Hashem's unlimited light. And this idea of bringing up the tefillas to the highest point is because the words of the whole, like we gave the example of how words, the source of words is beyond intellect, although they have an idea in them. So with the tefillah, what we're trying to do is also to connect to the beyond. And like, for example, when we say Yehi Ratzon, these are powerful words. What does Yehi Ratzon mean? That Hashem had one plan. Hashem says, okay, this is the right way going forward. And then we say, Yehi Ratzon, God, can you please create another desire? Can you please want something else? That we say Yehi Ratzon, to bring down a new desire from that comes into worlds. And although there was logic and there was reason to say, okay, well, you're actually not going to receive this blessing, and hardship is for a reason, it's for a purpose. But still, we're asking for a new ratzon, a new desire from beyond, which is in a place beyond gevura, beyond the need for severity and din, and instead, just in Keser, there's no severity. There's the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim, the 13 attributes of mercy, and we want to tap in to that place where there's only mercy and only Hashem's unlimited light. Okay, next paragraph. Now, this concept that we've explained about letters, that they have the ideas you're trying to convey, which are within Hishalshlus, within the chain of worlds, but the concept of letters themselves, that you just put your mouth automatically in the right place, is beyond one's spheres. So this helps us understand about the mitzvah and Torah. So mitzvah is compared to a lamp. Now a fire only burns when you have air. So besides the wick and the fuel and the fire itself that we explained previously, there's also the air. Without air, the fire will go out. And this air relates to letters. Now, although in terms of the four foundational elements, we've got fire, air, water, and earth. So fire is considered the highest, the most spiritual, then air, then water, and then earth. So although fire is higher than air, but in its source, air is the highest. And like we see with Yaakov, that when Yaakov came to the Har Moriah, when he was on his way to Lavan, he said, how awesome is this place? And why did he say awesome? Noira is reverence, and Yaakov is Tiferes. This would be more appropriate for Yitzchak to say. But the idea is that since Yaakov is the third, and Avram is on the right, chesed, love and kindness. Yitzchak is on the left, discipline, severity. Yaakov has to bring them together. Now, in order to bring them together, which is Tiferes, where you bring together chesed and gvura, in order to do that, you have to be higher than both of them to tap into a light beyond both of them. And that's what Yaakov did. And this is also similar to air. That air represents the memutza, the medium which links together the two sides, the right and the left. So on the right we have chachma, chesed, and netzach. Chachma is the original idea, which is just coming out from the subconscious. And then chesed is again going out, expressing yourself, giving. And then netzach is that even when there are obstacles, you're just going to plow forward. You're going to do it anyway. And then we have on the left, we have bina, which is thinking back into the idea that you had and qualifying it, etc. So it's on the left. And gvura again is restraint and discipline, and then hod also humility and holding back, not expressing yourself. So this is all on the left. And then when we want to bring them together, that is the middle line. The middle line includes keser, which is beyond chachma and binah. It's this unlimited godly energy. Then das, which links intellect with emotions. Then you have tiferes, which puts together chesed and gvura. It takes into account the concerns of gvura, but still gives and expresses like chesed. And then Yesod, which again, it takes into account both the Netzach's perspective and Hod's, both the plow forward and let's do this in a very humble way, and then takes them both together and then gives what the sort of the decision. So that's all the middle line. And in order to have the middle line actually starts with Keser, which is beyond. And that's connected to Avir air, which Avir is made up of the word light together with an extra yud. That yud is this is the concealment represents concealment. Like we know that yud is tzimtzum, it's the smallest letter, so represents limiting light. And that brings down the light to actually shine. Like letters themselves mean nothing, they're concealment. But when you put them together, then the idea can come through. So the same thing, air represents concealment. It's got this yud in it, but through it allows the fire to burn. So the air it's a nothing, this state of nothing and concealment, but without it, there could be no fire. And this is similar to ner mitzvah Torah. So mitzvahs are like this fire, and they elevate all the way till Keser, till Hashem's unlimited, the seat of Hashem's unlimited energy. And in Keser, you have 620 pillars that link Hashem's unlimitedness with the world within creation and physical world. And that's the concept of Yaakov, that can link the highest levels with the lowest levels, and therefore Yaakov is compared to a rope, like the pasuk says, "Ki Yaakov chevel nachlase," that Yaakov is the rope of his inheritance. The idea of a rope is that it connects the highest with the lowest, and similarly with the mitzvahs. So the mitzvahs elevate whatever item is used in the mitzvah to Keset Hashem's unlimited light, and from there to receive more light, and that's the idea of the Torah, the light of Torah, which then shines down. Now, Torah is called Mashal Kadmoni, the original, the Mashal, the original parable. And the idea of a parable is to explain the concept in a simpler way. Now, it says about Shlomo that he had 3,000 mishalim, 3,000 parables. Simply, each parable was on a separate topic. But at a higher level, the mishalim, all 3,000 of them were to explain one concept. Why? Because Shlomo was 3,000 levels beyond the people. So therefore, there are 3,000 steps, each one a little bit more coarse and a little bit closer to the physical reality in order for it to get down to us. And that's because Shlomo's wisdom reached Malchus Atzilus, the end of Atzilus, as it shines into the world's Biur, Yetzir, and Na'aseh, and therefore, since there are these three worlds that Shlomo has to bring down Hashem's light to explain it at the level of the bottom of Asiyah. So there's three worlds. Each world can be divided into 10 spheres. Those 10 can be divided into 10, and those 10 into 10. Therefore, you have really 3,000 levels, and Shlomo was able to bring down Hashem's light to explain it so that it can be revealed throughout all these 3,000 levels. Now, Malchus itself is, as it stays in Atzilus, is Ruach HaKodesh, is to get this divine inspiration. And then even beyond Malchus, there's Netzach and Hod, which is the seat of prophecy. And that's why there are so many. So there are so many interpretations to Torah. It says there are 600,000 explanations for every pasuk in Torah, and in every sentence of prophecy, and that's because they all come from Atzilus. But even within the worlds of Bria, Yetzir, Asiyah, within the worlds of creation, so you still have 3,000 levels, because as we said, each world is divided into 3 times 1,000. And Shlomo was able to understand and explain at each one of these 3,000 levels. But the truth is that even the Torah, as it is in Atzilus, is not the ultimate Torah either. But it's just a module compared to Torah as it is within Hashem's unlimited self. Over the page. And which Torah is one with Hashem, just like it says that Yisrael, that the Jewish people and Hashem are all one. The same thing with Torah, that I write in Echad. So in order to bring down this unlimited energy, which is the original source of Torah, that's through Ner Mitzvah, which is Ner Mitzvah is the avir, it's the air around the fire, and the mitzvahs lift up the item to Hashem, and meaning Hashem's unlimited self. And this is like a carbon. That the idea of a carbon is you take an animal and lift it up to Hashem. And the same thing with any mitzvah, let's say with tefillin, where the parchment is a physical thing, and then we lift it up to Hashem, make it holy. So what we have a physical item being included in Hashem's Hashem and in spirituality, and that's what we mean when we say in the bracha before doing a mitzvah, Hashem has sanctified us through His mitzvahs, that the mitzvahs sanctify us and the world. Now the mitzvahs also then bring down Hashem's light. So they do actually both halal, lifting up to Hashem, and hamshacha, bringing down. But Torah is exclusively hamshacha, bringing Hashem's light down. And that's why we use the expression kaira b'Torah, reading Torah. But kaira also means to call, because you're calling out to someone else who's outside of you. But when you call, you're calling to that is Torah, but through the proceeding with the mitzvah, which mitzvahs elevate up to Hashem. So then afterwards, Torah is brought down. This is what we're asking for when we say that Hashem's name should be blessed. Like we say, that Hashem's great name should be blessed, because Hashem Himself is, when we talk about Yud Kei Vav Kei, that name of Hashem, it's in Zah, in the midst of Atzilus, but the name is always lower. The name is as it goes down and relates to others. Therefore, the name of Hashem, when we say, is in Malchus. And but when we say the great name, like the pasuk says, when we talk about we talk about Shmei Agadol, or in Kaddish Shmei Rabbi's great name. So this great name is Keser. Keser is the Malchus beyond worlds. So that's Hashem's unlimited light. Therefore we say that it's of course in the singular, we say blessed in singular, because we're talking about the world of oneness. Atzilus is the world of oneness, and certainly beyond Atzilus. And this is also what we mean when we talk about, and we quoted this in the previous Maamer, that Hashem shakes his head, he nods his head. That the idea of nodding the head is bringing down from Keser, bringing down from beyond. And when we say the Kaddish after Agadata, so then Hashem nods his head. So this is representing bring down this energy from beyond, from Keser. And Agadata in particular, the stories and within the Agada within Torah, it has most of the secrets of Torah hidden in it, like the Rizal says. And then when we say the Kaddish after Agada, so then Hashem shakes his head. But if someone just learns, then it just brings Hashem's light onto him. But when you have a minion learning together, so then we bring them down a more general light. Now, with all this explanation, we can come back and explain about why Chanukah is on the left, although mezuzah is on the right, because mezuzah is a mitzvah, and therefore it is about elevating up to Hashem. And we want to elevate the house and everything in it. It should all be lifted up to Hashem. And therefore in mezuzah we write about V'ahavta, how we should love Hashem with all our heart and all our soul. So all our heart is davening with our heart. All our soul is with Torah, that we through Torah we unite our thought with Hashem's thought, our speech with Hashem's speech, and Hashem speaks through us. And then b'chol meidecha, with all our might, this meidecha also refers to one's possessions and money. And therefore what we're doing is we're elevating one's house and all his possessions to Hashem, and therefore that's on the right. It's all with love. Whereas Chanukah menorah is on the left, which Chanukah is linked to Torah. The Yavanim, the Greeks, their battle was against Chachma of Torah, And therefore, we put the menorah by the opening to the house outside, because the opening of the house is a hint to Malchus, and it says about Aaron that that with this Aaron will come into the holy. And so this also refers to is also Malchus, and like you use the door to go in and out, just like it says Aaron comes in. And what we want to do is then not only bring Hashem's light into Malchus, but bring Hashem's light into the worlds of Biur, where there's separation and independent existence. Like the pasuk says in Shir Hashirim, even on Hari Basar and the faraway mountains, to bring Hashem's light even there into a place of separation and darkness. And this is all on the left, fighting through concealment and all this struggles. And therefore, this was in the time of the second base of Mikdash, that the second base of Mikdash is also related to Gevurah, as opposed to the first base of Mikdash with Chesed. And therefore, this was achieved, this flowering of Chanukah and flowering of Torah was achieved in the second base of Mikdash on the left, where we're bringing Hashem's light down into a place of darkness. This concludes the Maamer Biur on Ner Chanukah, Mismel.